Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Good morning and welcome to Encounter. I'm your host today, Joe Sellepack, the Executive Director at the Broome County Council of Churches. Happy Father's Day. Fathers play an important role within the lives of children, and it's good that we all have a biological father that we all look back to, and today's a good day to say thanks for being there in my life. For others, they may not have had such a great experience being with their father. Their father was neglectful or was not present emotionally. But we're going to talk a little bit today about the importance of fatherhood and how we become good fathers within the life of children. What do you think? How important is a good father for children today?
Well, the fathers really nurture their children in very special ways. They give their children a sense of belonging. They commit to a certain level of safety for their children. And one of the biggest things is to provide a sense of confidence that they are able to achieve things and they're able to move forth in life. And so that is sort of an undergirding of what a father's special and unique role is with regard to being actively engaged in a child's life.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts?
Certainly, a father is about active engagement and participation within the family unit. And certainly, a mother's role is important, but a father's role is dynamic. And to establish a sense of stability, both emotionally and economically, is very important at this time.
Yeah. And you all are part of a group. It's called Pathways to Fatherhood. My guests today are Andrew Morrison. Andrew's been on Encounter before at one point, I think, way back when. Yeah, a long time ago. And Erik Lasky from Pathways to Fatherhood. Welcome to Encounter.
Thank you.
So, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. Yeah,
yes, it's great.
It's good to celebrate fathers, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, what do you think? What do you think about your program, and how does that help fathers be better fathers?
Well, we have a grant from Health and Human Services, and it is targeted to help fathers in Broome and Tioga counties to invest in the lives of their children and to be an active, engaged partner with the mother to make sure that children are getting what they need, not only financially, but emotionally and educationally. And so we are just ecstatic to be able to work with fathers in that area.
And it's important, not just like you were saying, financially. The routine, the old model of fatherhood is that the father is the breadwinner, the mother gives emotional support and other kinds of things to the child. But that kind of model isn't necessarily what you're working with, right?
Sure, no, we live in a 21st century and times are different now. So that antiquated model of the 1950s or 1940s approach where dad's a breadwinner, comes home and his job's done, I don't think really exists anymore today. Dads need to be actively engaged and they need to participate in their children's lives from emotional support and educational foundation all the way through, changing diapers and all those things that traditionally the mom was expected to do. Fathers are expected to cook now and teach your children how to be emotionally available by being available themselves.
Because let's be fair, I mean, women are working today these days. They work every bit as long as a man, sometimes more.
Sure.
And so when you're both working in that kind of a way, then the whole family structure requires a lot more teamwork, doesn't it?
Yes.
Right, and co-parenting is a big part of our class, and sort of how to get on the same side. Children are masters of divide and conquer.
Right.
So if they know parents are sort of wavering or they're unsure, they're not on the same page. You know, children figure things out quite quickly. So to have a mom and dad both actively agree that, you know, these are the house rules, this is our structure, and it's the same with dad as it is for mom, that level of consistency is really what children require and they need, even if they don't say that. So co-parenting is a really important part of our structure, and that's even for parents that are divorced, to be on the same side and to realize it's about the child, not necessarily about you per se.
And that's often the hardest part of within a split family like that, where they've divorced or maybe never even been married to begin with. So you have two different ways of approaching discipline, two different ways of approaching how the family even eats.
Sure.
Or what happens what happens when you go to that house. You're expected to pick up your toys and the rest of it, and another house you can do whatever you want. So
Yeah. Well, so what we do, we have this model that we talk about in our class. We say, okay, what is the expectation?
Right.
And then over here is, what's the execution? Our job is to help the child get the execution to mirror what the expectation is. And sometimes most times it's very important that the parents talk about the levels of expectations and what we need to do to help the children to arrive in terms of execution to what the expectations are. We also try to make sure that for men who are not in the household where the child may reside,
right.
One of the things that we're asking fathers to do is to do something on a weekly basis that we call a lifeline letter, where every week on a given day, because you kind of know it takes 4 days to get there, so every Thursday this letter's going to arrive. And the letter talks to the child about, how are you doing in school? How are you paying attention to what your mom asked you to do? And what are some interesting things going on in your life? And, during our last visit, we did this. Okay, the next time we have a visit together, here's some options of things that we might be able to do. Let me know, which one of those interests you. So it's a way for a father who's not living in the house to maintain a ongoing contact, a level of communication with the child.
Which is really important, because children need to know, even if there is an absentee parent, whether it's a mother or a father, that parent cares about me. They generally are interested in my well-being, and that builds an authentic relationship with your child. And doing a letter like that every week, or making several phone calls, and even calling the school. We ask our dads to be actively engaged in our child's educational part. Do your children know? Andrew's a big proponent. Do your kids know the 100 words they should know going into school? And don't just leave that to one parent to do. That's both parents' jobs. So, calling your child's school and saying, hey, how's my kid doing? What can I do when they spend time with me? Where are they lacking? It fosters a healthy relationship for your child and lets them know that you're there for them. And that's the important part.
And what happens when a father is emotionally distant from the family structure? What is the impact on children at that point?
Well, let's just look at one real national statistic. There are some 24 million children today who are living in a household where the father is absent. Yes. So there's a void in the connection with who my father is, what he's like, how do I engage with them, So you have that dynamic. Then you have the dynamic that a father is really instrumental in helping his teenage daughter understand who she is and her confidence in herself, and not getting involved in certain kinds of activities that might cause early pregnancies and that sort of thing. And so fathers are they're very important. Teach your son what it is to be a man.
Right.
And then teach your daughter what to look for in a man.
Right.
Those are some things that we really need to focus on in terms of fathers being engaged. And when fathers aren't in the home, those are some things that go missing.
Because we learn through mirroring, right? So we know what it means to be a person because we're in relationship to another person.
Sure.
And earlier when we were talking about this show, you shared a statistic, or not a statistic, but a story about a child in Africa who didn't have the emotional connections with people.
Yeah, there was a study, and I can't remember where we pulled it from. It might have been actually the National Institute, or I was doing a lot of research on brain development, early childhood development, and the importance of play and creativity and growth and having an active engagement with a family unit, whatever that family unit looks like.
Right.
And what it showed was that children that were left basically abandoned or disassociated from their family, their brains actually were smaller. And there was what they would call voids within the brain themselves. And that doesn't mean that that's a hole, a void is a hole, but
Right.
what it meant was that the neurological firing and connection wasn't there because those pathways had never been stimulated. So we talk about the importance of creativity and play with your children, playing everything from board games to make-believe to create worlds of fantasy that your kids can
Right.
live in, read books to them, stories. I always think the upside-down book trick is really fun. So you read, reading to a child not only helps them to develop language and learn words, but it also gives them a whole wealth of knowledge and creativity. So by flipping the book upside down and reading a story in a different way or telling them to make up a story, it actually physiologically develops their brain in a different way.
Right.
And it allows them to be more complete humans. And it allows them to see a different side of you, really, which is important, because if they always look at you as just the stern taskmaster or just the nurturer or whatever, they don't see the diversity that you actually are as a parent. And as we know, all people are diverse and unique, and we all share complex thoughts and feelings. And to give your child a piece of that tells them that that's okay. It's okay to feel things and to be able to express those things.
And when we that whole mirroring thing that happens in that relationship is it goes back to what you were talking about before. You begin to understand what it means to be a man because you're in relationship to a man. You know what it means to be a man who treats a woman, or even a girl will understand how she's supposed to be treated by how the man treats his wife, or how the man treats you when you're growing up. There's a certain level of interaction that goes on there that's important, right? I mean,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we need to make sure that our children, first of all, that we're paying attention to the growth and development stages in our children's lives, because, as they go through life, there's certain skills that they should be exhibiting, certain behaviors they should be exhibiting. So we need to make sure that we're on board with that. But then we also need to make sure that we've nurtured them in such a way that they value themselves. Mm-hmm. And not only that they value themselves, but they have a healthy value of relationships with other people.
Exactly.
They're going to get from us how to live, how to work with people, how to cooperate, how to engage in play, how to find healthy ways to talk about issues that are bothering them, because we've opened the door. And if we open the door to those things, then they will be able to be healthy, functioning adults.
My guests today are Andrew Morrison and Erik Lasky from the Pathways to Fatherhood. This is a program of the Family Enrichment Network.
Yes.
And if a father was out there thinking, well, I need some help being a better father, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, I'm going to use this so I can make sure I get this right.
I'm glad you pulled it up.
Yeah, our program coordinator is Dan Lesh, and his number is 607-723-8313, extension 838. You can call him and he will talk to you about how to get involved in the program. You also can reach us by fatherhood@familyenrichment.org. So if you use those two ways of getting in touch with us, we will get back to you and make sure that you get all the information you need with regard to how to participate in our programs.
And we also are on Facebook at New Pathways for Fathers. You just type us in and it should come right up, and it's through Family Enrichment Network, and that's also another way that you can communicate. And of course, all our information and updates and events that we have coming up are all posted on there as well.
So let's talk a little bit about the need for your program. I mean, we do know that there must be some rationale for why why you all exist. So, what are some of the statistics that kind of promote the the reason that you all are actually needed these days?
Well, as Andrew said, we're a federal program. We're in year 2 of 5, correct?
Yes.
Yes, year 2 of 5. And I think as the federal government realized that there was a void in the traditional family structure.
Right.
And that we needed to look at a creative approach to parenting. And that meant that fathers needed to be included. And as we know in this area, we have lots of diverse families. And we have lots of fathers that are unsure on what is best for me. We live in a very fast and modern time today, and I think fathers as well as mothers are confused on how to relate to their children. I mean, their children are very different today than they were then. I was born in 1983. Technology was more of an accessory than it was a day-to-day routine. So children are different today, and the way you grew up, is very different than how children are growing up today. So the need for a father has to evolve, and it has to change. Either the times moves you or you move the times. So we need to be proactive as well as avant-garde in our approach to fathering. And that means diversifying your portfolio of what you can do, really, as a parent and as a father.
We look at an amazing statistic. 92%